Hey lovely people, right, so we're coming back with the Chinook build. So this is where we got up to. I've also done the main rotors. So the next thing I really need to do is lob this floor in. Now I've been playing with this and I'm going to have to do this a bit at a time, I think, in order to fit it in. So I'm going to pick a start point and then work from there. Now this I think is potentially going to cause some issues because I mistakenly decided I was going to pop the floor in, the underside in after, and I should have put this in at the time that I put the sides on, really, and because of that I think it's causing me some issues. So it's going to be a case of do this a little bit at a time. I have, as you can see, there's a little bit of paint on the edges here, so I have already scraped off that. So this is going to be a case of start gluing and do it a little bit at a time. So if you come back, all being well, this will be in position and set. Okay, so I've put on the underside. I've also started on the wheels, okay, which are going to be the next things. So there's 4 wheel assemblies, 6 wheels and 2 pairs of legs. So the front wheels are a pair, and the cleanup for these was actually not too bad. It was fairly easy and straightforward. And literally this is the front landing gear. Oops. So you will have to just hold this to try and make sure that you get the wheels at the correct alignment. Unfortunately they're not, because it's an 80s kit, they're not weighted. I'm sure if you wanted to try and model that yourself you could do. I think that's about as close as I'm gonna get on the front, and then the rear one is just literally goes in and glue it. Right, so, and I'm just going to leave them to dry. I'm not going to leave that like so. You may just have to hold on to this one for a little while just to make sure that when you drop it down it doesn't sag. I've these are then going to obviously attach to the underside of the Chinook. Now the single wheel goes at the rear, which I thought would have been, because quite often the Chinook comes in, just touches his back arse down. I mean, these are straked, not straked, these are designed with a separate supporting arm, whereas the front ones aren't. So, you know, maybe it is capable of taking, you know, the weight as it comes in. But let's just pop that down. I'll just put that on there. Right, so you also have these strakes here, which you have to glue to the underside. Now, I couldn't quite accurately see how these went. I'm assuming that they stand at an angle, but they go into a tiny little groove on the fuselage just as it comes underneath. They're not the easiest things to get into position. But just trying to eyeball it so that both are at the same angle. Yeah, that's about right. And just come in like so. Now, because the way that these are going to glue in, they're going to glue in to this supporting post here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue, not going to glue, I'm going to scrape away some of the paint so that the glue will adhere. And the underside is going to be spray painted black anyway. So once this is all glued up and in position, any outstanding glue marks are going to be sorted out. So the first one I'm going to glue into position. Is the rear landing leg. And the strut is on the inside so that the wheel shows on the outside. And then the front goes in there. Right. Just trying to make sure that they are straight. And then I'm going to use a couple of paint holders to just lay that down. Fiddly bit now. There are a number of parts that need to be glued to the underside. I'm probably going to start off with the easiest one, to be honest, which is one of the cargo hatches. So that locates there. Then we have one of the hooks, cargo hooks, which locates into this hole. Now, there weren't really any pins to speak of. For these to secure them in the hole, but it seems that the way it's molded, it seems secures it in position. And then there's one up front. Unfortunately, my landing gear didn't dry at the best angle. Right, then there's this piece of green plastic here, which is going to house this other cargo hook, and there's no sort of like real pin assembly or anything on that. So I think this is probably the best way of doing it. Like so. This then fits into the cargo. I don't know if you can see the cargo hatch just there. And there is some raised detail which will show you where that goes. That goes into position. It doesn't sort of like sit in position really well. It doesn't click into position or anything like that. So you are going to have to just keep an eye on it. The same way that I'm having to keep an eye on this particular hook up the end there. Now, really fiddly bit. We've got a number of pieces. I can't see all of them. Pants, where have they gone? We've got a number of pieces which will be kind of like antennas, airspeed indicators, that sort of thing. I've lost a blade antenna, but I've got a spare, so that's not an issue. Oh. Right, oh no, there's the blade antenna. So the blade antenna sits here towards the front of the airframe on the underside. Now there is a slot, but this is massively oversized for that, and there's no tab. Last few bits and pieces that I'm going to put on for now. Because there's a lot of stuff that I'm not going to put on for painting. So the last couple of bits that I'm going to put on are the winch assembly here, and then there's some sort of little butt plug which goes onto this as well. So we'll sort that out, we'll find where that goes. So, winch assembly is, you get two halves of the winch assembly, and then there's a little coil hanging down. And this, I think it's probably going to be easier to do that. And then do that. And this doesn't have any pins to basically secure it in one position, so just be aware of that. Anyway, we've then got this little thing which goes on the back, and there isn't a clear picture of it in the instructions, but there is something in the paint nodule, and it's kind of odd. So it goes here, and it goes about halfway on this panel, and it's literally, where did it go? It's literally just a tiny little piece of plastic. Now this, like I said, although it shows in the instructions that it goes on the back here, it's actually not given a clear position, and there's not a pin or anything here to show, but it goes around about halfway. So just be aware of that. So it goes about halfway between the bottom of the panel line there and the top. Right then, said Fred. So the next part of our winch build, I'm just going to remove as much of the seam line where this is joined together as possible. And then this will essentially go on like thus, and it glues so again this assembly, I don't think it's really going to feel that secure. So one, and then two. Sticking on the, again, I mean the instructions aren't really that clear. There are a couple of markings just at the sides of the door which look like they're going to be for the winch housing. So let's move that aside. Let's put that there. Let's put that on the table, and then I'm going to have to bring the lamp in just so I can see what I'm doing. So that's on there, and then, and this, I'm sorry, but this looks really janky. I'm really not happy with that. That doesn't look right. It is up the right way round. That is really bad. That is literally just sitting on the skin of the aircraft. It doesn't even look like they've bothered to make any pinholes to try and make it seat nicely, more in a more natural position. That is really bad. So if you can see that. Anyway, it's on. So the next thing we've got are I'm assuming this is like a high gain UHF antenna or something like that, or VHF, which the poles, because you put the poles in and then there's a wire that goes from the poles. So literally I'm going to put in a number of pins here. And as you do these, you're going to have to obviously make sure that they align horizontally and vertically on the aircraft, which is going to be fun. So I'm going to finish off those and then we'll come back, and I think that's as far as we're going to take it with regards to build, because everything else now is going to be painting and then adding in the last final bits once the main paint scheme has gone down. So okay, I'm going to come in and do the antenna cable for the Chinook that runs down the side. At least I assume it's an antenna cable. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to make, so I don't know if you can see this, but I stretch some sprue over a candle. Okay, so you just warm your sprue up until it bends and then pull it apart and you'll get, basically it will string out. And I'm going to use this to be the antenna cable rather than string, because string brings its own little problems. So I'm just trying to use this old manky t-shirt that I use for drying off my brushes to do this. And I'm going to need to bring in the lamp and the magnifier so that I can see what I'm doing, because I'm old. So I'm going to try and make sure that I use as much of the cable which appears to be one size as possible. And I'm going to use plastic weld to come in and just lay that first. Bit down, and then come in and just do the others a bit at a time. And then once it's done, it will look Magnificent. Okay, so I've done the antenna cable onto the Chinook. Now this is as far as I'm taking it build wise prior to painting. I'm not going to do any more because I want to be able to access certain things so that, you know, when I'm painting I'm not stressing too much about, because of where something's located, you know, and something else is in the way. I'm not stressing about getting, you know, getting paint over stuff that I've already painted. So this is as far as it's going, and I'll do a paint video once I get a chance to do one, and hopefully I'll see you then. All right, see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.